This example is from LeetCode. It's repeated. It's called repeated DNA sequences. So here's a problem description. So we all know that DNA is a series of nucleotides. There are 4 types of them, so we call them ACGT. So when study DNA, sometimes we want to identify repeated sequence within the DNA. So this question asks you to write a function that find all 10-letter long sequences that occur more than once in a DNA molecule. So we're given a string of some length, and then we want to find out which length 2 string, substring that appear more than once. So AAA, CCC appear here, and I guess it also appear here. And CCC, AAA appear here, and also here. So that's this question. So I encourage you to pause the video and think about how to solve it. You can even go to LeetCode and try to code it up and see what solution you use and whether they pass. We're going to discuss several solutions. So so let's see. Okay, so here's brute force solution. And it's actually also, I intentionally added a bug in it. So the brute force solution is, let's just consider all possible starting positions for the 2 substrings that match each other. That's when the string will, if a string appears twice, once it must start from some position I, the other time must start from some position j that's greater than I, and they have to match. So I loop over all possible starting position for the first string, all possible starting position for the second string, and then I check whether they are equal. So start from 0. If k goes to 0, that means everything I look at, they are the same. So then that means this string appear twice, and I just add this substring to the answer. So can you find the bug? So I assume you already find it. I think most of you probably find it fairly easily. So when a string appears more than twice, this will output it more than once. So if a string appear, in fact, I think if a string appear k times, it will find, I think it's maybe like k choose 2. Yes, I think it will. Yes, it will find it k choose 2 times. So how do we fix it? So we need to make sure that we are not outputting the same array, the same string again. Well, so one way to fix it is before we put it in the vector, in the answer, if we check whether it's already in there. If it's already in there, we're not going to put it in. So this is implementing that. So it's just when we in the previous version we directly added to answer, but here we first check. We check whether x exists. So we use this find function, which will compare x with each of the value in between. So basically go through the iterators. And if it reaches n, that means it has not find anything that equals it. So then we will add it. So this version gets TLE. So it's around time limit exceeded. So what's the time complexity? If we assume the length of the string is n, then this has a quadratic complexity, so O(n) squared. The question is, can we speed it up? Can we avoid going through all possible positions and then compare the string? Can we just scan through the array kind of like once and then find out that? We are trying to find out whether a substring appear again. And this is something where set can provide. So this is a version that uses set to check whether a string appeared more than once. So we start from all possible starting position, and then we take the substring, and we check whether this string already exists. If it does not exist, then this is the first time we see the string. Then we will add it to the set. So count to return the number of times an element occurs. So if it already exists, then we want to add it to the answer, but we want to make sure we're not adding it more than once. So I still have this code of checking whether X appear in answer and add it. If not, then I add it to answer. So this version, in my view, it shouldn't pass. But actually, it passed on LeetCode. It's actually reasonably fast. And I want you to think about the reason why I say it shouldn't pass. And yeah. So the reason is this part of constructing the solution is actually quadratic in the number of strings. So it's quadratic in the number of answers. But because the number of answers could be linear in length n, so given the length n, there are n minus 10 possible strings, and if we have exactly n over 2 strings, then each string appear twice. Then there will be n over 2 solution strings, or n minus 10 over 2 solution strings. So then this vector will grow to this vector answer will grow to the length almost half the input string, and then every time we will scan through this and then check whether a string appeared or not. I actually don't quite know whether it's possible to construct a worst case example where every string appears exactly twice, but it's certainly possible to construct the case where there are linear number of strings that appear more than once. So maybe there can be n over 10 strings that each of them appear more than once. It's possible. But this so this part it's possible to construct input where this code should fail if quadratic behavior is not allowed, if the string input string is long enough. But of course, constructing those counterexamples are actually a little bit hard. So on LeetCode, they don't have the test case that try to test that, eliminate this inefficient solution. Now, how do we deal with this? How do we deal with the situation that the answer we only want to add it once? Well, we have learned, we are using set here, so unordered set here, to check whether something appeared before. So we can use the same thing for answer. So we add another set. It can be either ordered or unordered. Here, because we don't need the ordering behavior, we use unordered set, which I think in general is slightly faster than the ordered set. But we can have another set which are store all the string that we have already put in answer, and each time we get a new string, we check whether it's in the set. If it's not, we will add it to the vector and add to the set. If it's already in the set, we don't do anything. So that works, and it reduces the complexity from quadratic to linear. But I feel that it's a little bit ugly, so I think there's a slightly better solution. The difference is not big, but it's a slightly better solution. And I want you to think about it before we move on. So here's a solution that I think is slightly better, which uses a map. So we map each string to the number of times it appears. So these we are counting the number of time each substring occurs. So we are keeping track of information that's again more than what they asked for, but it's seems very natural thing to do. So what we do is we scan through the array for all possible substring. Then we increment the corresponding element in the map. So in C++, you can directly use this square bracket array syntax for map. And you don't need to initialize the value. So they will use the default initialization value for a key. if it does not already exist. So for int, the default value is 0. So when we do this, what happens is they will look in the map and see that the key x, if the key x has not been used, they will add that map x to 0. If it's already used, then they will take that value out. And we will add, we will increment that because we use this map to count how many times it appears. And we will add this answer, this x to answer only when c equals 2. So this is when we see the string the second time. When we see the string the third time, we will not add it to the answer. So this avoids duplication. So I think this is a natural solution when we use map. And in fact, this is the first version I wrote down when I was coding it on LeetCode. But it turns out that this version has a bug. So I want you to pause the video and think about what it is. It's not obvious. It requires a little bit in-depth understanding of the language. And in fact, I have to debug adding print statement to see exactly what went wrong. So the problem is this size return a data type called size t, which is depending on platform is different, but it's always unsigned integer. And in the LeetCode system, it's a 64-bit unsigned integer. So and what happens is then when we are doing this subtraction, we're using a 64-bit unsigned integer subtract a integer. And when that happens, because 64-bit unsigned integer is longer than int, so they will treat the whole operation as being using 64-bit unsigned integer. And in unsigned integer arithmetic, we cannot get any negative value. So any result we get will be interpreted as a positive value. So what happens if we have a size 0, when we do -10, we will get a negative value, but when we are using unsigned integer, we will get the same bit pattern as unsigned integer. But it's actually interpreted as a positive number. It will be a big positive number. In binary, this will be 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, a lot of 1. I think the last 4 bit should be I guess 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, I believe. Yes, 0, 1, 0, 1. The last 4 bits. Before that, it's all 1. So it will be interpreted as a very big positive integer. So the same will happen when the s size is 1, 2, 3 until 9. Because when we are doing unsigned operation, we can never get a negative value. So then the loop becomes I will never stop. It will go to a very big number. So we will we'll have an exception, runtime exception, index out of bound. So how do we fix it? There are actually several ways to do it. So there are at least 3 ways. First is always cast s.size to int. So that's actually a very good habit. So in fact, as we are going to see in the template code, or maybe I have already used the template code in previous topic, there's a macro called sz defined to get size. So anytime we get a size, we will cast it to int, cast it to a signed integer, and then the arithmetic will make sense. Otherwise, when we do subtraction on this size, we will get this kind of unexpected behaviors. So another way is to do addition instead of subtraction. We check I plus 10 less than s.size. So in fact, I think that's some of the earlier code. Yeah. So that's why I have the some of the earlier code being like that, using addition instead of subtraction. And the third is we can check the size first to avoid negative number, because if size is less than 10, we can simply return empty answer, because there's not going to be any string. So we can add a check here if s.size less than 10, return answer before the for loop. So this is a version that is accepted. So yeah, we fixed that problem. Yeah, we fixed it this way. So then when I submit this, I saw that it's actually not a very efficient solution. So actually, let's take a break now.